Hi there. So, today let's talk about an important couple of topics, starting with treatment, but more importantly, support, first at home and school, and then continued throughout life through friends and coworkers, even, regardless of whether professional help is needed. How a person is treated has the greatest impact on their mental health and well being overall, period. I think that's the most important part and figured to put it in the beginning. But attention deficit disorder, ADD, is outdated now, a term sometimes used though for the inattentive type presentation of ADHD as well. ADHD is a neurotype characterized presentation by traits such as inattentiveness, inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. The term ADD, though, is often used to describe people with inattentive and impulsive traits, but without characteristics of the hyperactivity. Their issues are more in their head than outwardly, in the physical to see. Without prior support, though, and accommodation, people with either ADD or ADHD, or a combination of the two, even, may struggle with direct tasks like paying attention to instructions, focusing on schoolwork, keeping up with assignments, following instructions, and completing tasks. Now, while the term ADD is technically an outdated term and no longer used for medical professionals, it is still sometimes used collaboratively to refer to someone who has predominantly inattentive ADHD, which causes difficulty staying focused but does not include the hyperactivity. It also has been suggested that either diagnosed ADD or ADHD can be combined, even in addition with a very even mild autism traits. So, people, though, with the inattentive type, anyway, of ADD struggle to pay attention or stay focused for long periods of time. Some of the characteristics, of this neurotype or a cluster of more than one include being easily distracted, difficulty following directions, difficulty staying on task, forgetfulness, and losing personal items such as keys and books, not paying attention to details, problems staying organized, or have a short attention span. Children with ADHD, particularly those without the hyperactivity component, may appear bored or disinterested in classroom activities. They may be prone to daydreaming or forgetfulness, work slower and turn in even incomplete work. Their assignments, their desks, and lockers may look disorganized. They may lose materials at school and at home, or misplace schoolwork and fail to turn in assignments altogether. This can frustrate teachers and parents, who often mislabel this as a behavioral issue. This makes it even more important for both the family at home and the faculty at school to pay closer attention to the specific symptoms and the environment that surrounds that child, or obviously the children, each one, whether needing to be looked at closer or not, right? Anyway, while the symptoms of the condition are similar in children, teens, and adults, they may also change over time. It is also hereditary, meaning often one or more of the parents have some of the traits. and or symptoms, regardless if they were ever formally evaluated. They can and will see the similarities in their children. And if you have more children in the home, it is common to have more than just one child to show at least some form of one or more of the similar symptoms and difficulties as well. It is common for more than, forgive me, I lost my train of thought. Awareness, sorry, more of the similar, um, I'm sorry, awareness is not only key, but can also be profound in understanding what is going on with them and how to help them better adapt with the empathy and support they need most of all. Children may more likely to be affected by hyperactivity. There is also more dominant traits of this in male children than in female children. These particular symptoms will increase and appear more like acting out if the child feels invisible in the home or the classroom. These characteristics, also become more noticeable and disruptive when children are in classroom settings that are firmly centered around the neurotypical expectations. While ADD, though, characteristics change as people age, teens and adults, will likely continue, though, to experience at least some of the symptoms, such as the parts of a lack of attention, difficulty remembering information, and trouble with organization. So, ADD versus ADHD and autism. What's the difference, right? While many people continue to use the term ADD and ADHD interchangeably, it's important to recognize that they are not the same. Here are some key points to be aware of. While ADD, the inattentive type of ADHD, doesn't manifest in the same way that predominantly hyperactive, impulsive, or combined types do, children with these presentations have different traits. Boys are more likely to be diagnosed because of the hyperactivity and the impulsive behaviors. They're more disruptive, while girls often show internalized symptoms leading to underdiagnosis. Children with combined type ADHD display several symptoms of both the hyperactive, impulsive type and the inattentive type. Kids with this neurotype are sometimes labeled as having disciplinary problems when they are not provided the appropriate support and accommodations. Children with inattentive ADHD are generally not disruptive in school. They may even sit quietly in class, but that doesn't mean they're not struggling to focus and doing a whole lot of internalizing. Often, though, when they are have a strong, interest in a specific subject or activity, though, they will hyper focus on that one thing. They use this as both a self soothing tool when they are having emotions they don't know how to express to others, and a surge of pride seeing themselves as really good at something, whatever that subject or activity may be. It is important to encourage and support them in whatever it is. You can also allow more of that time for them, even the ability to have it incorporated in a sort of reward system. It definitely should be an important component of their IEP if one is, given, which is an individual education plan, stating something as basic as give them a small list of tasks at a time in the classroom and at home for the work they are required to do. And then when finished, they can have a set amount of time set aside, allowing them to then be able to do the activity that they enjoy. It can start when they are young. Speaking of which, even as a young parent myself, I was determined to be the best parent I could be. So I continued taking college courses even when I began to have my first baby at home. And I chose my major to be child development. going on to eventually earn my AS degree in it. But when Tatiana was born with what is called a VSD, which is a ventricle septal defect, which is a small hole in the heart, it was alarming to say the least. I was told that it was semi serious at birth, but as we all know, when a child grows, so does the heart. And I was told that the hole, if left unrepaired, would grow bigger with the stretch. So I agreed, even with her being so small. Sorry, plane's going over. Um, so because she was like maybe 6 months old. Um, but I agreed to the treatment, which was done by laser surgery. Today, she has a faint scar on her chest and some shadowing, but her heart is perfectly normal. She was also diagnosed with having some issues with asthma. A year later, while visiting in Texas, my sister in law had just given birth to twin girls, and one of her girls was born with an ASD, which is an atrial septal defect. This being more serious because it was more than one hole and more than one surgery, frankly. After all, you can only stop the heart to repair one hole at a time. I thought it was worth taking some nursing classes, though, at this point to be useful at home, especially after I found out it necessary to be more prepared to better help, my child, and understanding, a variety of other illnesses I wasn't as familiar with, not just because, both my mother and grandmother were nurses themselves. When my first, sorry, it keeps moving. I think the little piece of candy I was using, it did, fell. I use it as my little marker to stay still so I can stay focused on my thoughts and notes. So, where was I? Um, Oh, so basically, though, when my first son was born, he too had some health concerns. First, having surgery as well, major as a baby, to put tubes in his ears because he was prone to getting constant ear infections and then respiratory issues as well. Although it was when he was beginning to show signs and concerns at school for ADHD, that I actually began to change my focus and took classes for special needs and even got certification in that. Then I went on to get my BA in behavioral science, which gives a even broader spectrum of behavioral, obviously different diagnoses of people, brains, ages, really big range. I'm not going to go into the depth of that, but the point of me telling you is because it was fueled by my desire to meet the variety of needs I had come to know with all my children as they continued to come. To know, uh, I'm sorry, then I thought as my children got older and didn't need as much direct care, perhaps now I can help other people with their children and have been able to do it in such a variety of ways over the years. But when I finally had my sit down conversation with God on what my purpose was, He handed me my dream job. He said I have put in the work. He said he was my business partner and not only knew how passionate I already was and how much he had fueled me even more on using my platform, though, to encourage, to help, and to inspire as many people as I can. and for a dozen reasons, but more importantly, to teach and counsel on topics mostly related to children and mental health of all ages. Now, even if it starts with one considering being evaluated or taking notes that may help them at home with their kids, or to learn a recipe, or watch my episodes on important topics, that I do my best to pick the ones I feel are really important and most useful or less understood. And I am willing to dig in and share the information I first learned myself. Even though all things considered, it is common for many folks not to get diagnosed, including myself as a kid or my spouse, Walter, either, even Tatiana, at least for this specific behavioral disorders. Like many of you, the question is, would it have helped us more in school and made things easier? Who knows? But we remain eager, like many of you, to learn helpful tips to deal with ourselves, our children, and even today's society. Because, boy, what obstacles it brings, and for all of us, even with the day to day, the world also comes together, I think, as a large mirror for us to better see ourselves and a lot of the similarities that are both hereditary and contagious, especially in our children. But it turns out we also relate to so many others now that the conversation has opened up for far more people to come forward to be willing and open about their similar experiences as well. I remember my son CJ, for example, who showed more of the ADHD. I created a bright colored chart with his name on it, hung it up where it could be seen clearly on the fridge, and I would continually go to put positive stickers to show I acknowledged his efforts and performance. I also put him in a variety of dance and even karate classes for all that energy, too. This in turn got him into a routine he was more willing to adjust to, and he continued to show more positive behaviors and better results overall. Now, I just knowing instinctively that Tatiana showed more of the ADD subtypes. So the reward system for her was to acknowledge her love of reading, started by my grandpa because he loved to, or she loved him telling her stories. Um, but I treated her to a new book that she wanted. In turn, it created a bookshelf of her own that began to hold her favorite series of books. And then, when her favorite books turned into a movie, I would treat her to tickets, either with me or her friends, to see the premiere at the movie theater. This encouraged her to continue to focus on getting good grades. And when she showed interest in arts and crafts, I provided the materials and watched her focus and creativity come alive. The same was for Isaiah. He was the little scientist who loved to create potions starting in the tub. So I would find all different colors and smelling salts, for him to mix and create. And then later projects he could put together at the table while watching his favorite cartoon and practicing voices. Before he began to prefer being outside doing activities than inside. He wanted to, begin to climb trees and take nature walks to find all kinds of bugs. He also was the one who would ask outright for a rare variety of pets, too. Later, they were all able to attend a school where they could choose the specific classes that they wanted to take in addition to the basics required. And the school had a firm policy that was clear about GPA expectations to be able to remain in the choice school as opposed to a regular school. By the time they got to junior high and high school um, grades, by the time Whittle, though, came along, it was easier to see that she was a little of each of her older siblings, even except that her love for music led her to play more than one instrument, too. But she showed ADHD and ADD subtypes. Like her sister, she showed a strong love of variety of art, which helped her in a very therapeutic way to focus and self soothe emotions. And like her brothers for the ADHD, she too wanted to dance and do cheerleading to help her with all the extra built up energy. All her older siblings all showed themselves in her and showed up for her, being very helpful in sharing their tips and techniques with her on what helped them either in their class assignments or their creative activities. None of my children or our combined family as a whole is at all perfect, but the genuine care and concern to look out for each other is priceless. I see that the more important thing is not to be right, but to be accepted and even appreciated for who each person is individually. This encourages me today to write about and share my experiences. Wouldn't it be wonderful if more families would show up for each other, even if it meant sharing how they overcame their toughest obstacles and imperfections? Now, if you are curious about whether your child has any of these, talk to your child's school counselor, teacher, or doctor about appropriate treatment. They have a list of resources as well as the ability to put in a referral to even see a specialist or be placed in a smaller classroom setting to allow more one on one time with your child. Luckily, there are now many ways to apply and accommodate early intervention, which I believe is key for students with special needs. Educators can also adjust the learning environment and materials, provide um, assistive technology, offer individualized instruction, and foster an inclusive classroom atmosphere with strategies that include giving more time for assignments, using visual aids, breaking down tasks, providing alternative formats for materials like audio or large print, setting up a quiet space, and establishing clear routines and expectations if symptoms persist and are extreme. The best part is that they have meetings with the parents, sharing and exchanging all these ideas so they can be a part of the solution and even encourage them to show their support and put into place their own award systems at home as well. This firsthand aid, early intervention, and accommodations can ensure that your child experiences fewer disruptions and ongoing additional problems from the beginning. Your child's pediatrician may recommend seeing a child psychologist to further evaluate your child to see if they fit the criteria for ADHD, ADD, and even a low level of autism. If so, their traits and the type of support needed can be evaluated. This evaluation can differentiate, that word for some reason is hard for me to pronounce, from other issues that may be causing difficulty with schoolwork and track the child's response to helpful cues over time. So, depending on the child's symptoms, they may be diagnosed. Some characteristics of this type include forgetfulness, problems with organization, difficulty listening, even difficulty with pronunciation, and a lack of focus. Hyperactive impulsive ADHD is characterized by fidgeting with hands and feet or squirming while seated, running or climbing inappropriately in class, or feelings of restlessness. Difficulty engaging in activities quietly, seeming to always be on the go, excessive talking, blurting out responses, problems taking turns, an inability to stay seated, frequently interrupting others, even. A combined type involves exhibiting symptoms of both the inattentive and the hyperactive impulsive types. To be diagnosed, a person must display six or more inattentive symptoms and six or more hyperactive impulsive symptoms. So, while any diagnosis is considered a disability because we live in a society based on a neurotypical array of expectations, it is not a condition that requires a cure. It is a form of neurodivergence, and it is also essential to recognize this and offer the right support and accommodations. So, ADHD support often involves medications, even though they're not required. I don't know what's going on with my phone, but it's distracting me. And it's someone who's already easily distracted, right? Um, it, you know, I would avoid or delay or encourage. Excuse me, I don't tell people what to do, especially for children, though. If prescribed or suggested, because they can include a host of side effects when starting. Because there's psychostimulants, antidepressants, or even non-stimulants. It's important to know your child and always be aware of the risks and watch for the better choice overall. Classroom accommodations, parent support, family therapy, which can take place in the home. Teach all family members healthy ways to support the child and each other. Parent support can include learning strategies such as play therapy and talk therapy to help children freely express their feelings and develop healthy coping mechanisms. Accommodations at school may include, extra time on tests, even additional breaks when needed, environment changes, positive reinforcement, and assignments even tailored to the child. Peer support may involve group activities led by a therapist or a trained professional to teach construct, constructive, interaction skills, coping with teasing, and making friends. Lifestyle changes, including exercise, art, music, crafts, can help children regulate emotions, focus, and even build more self esteem. So, from childhood to adulthood, relationships, they can be very hard. And a lot of it starts in childhood, starting with whether you have a disability or were marked with a label or were picked on without evaluation. Were you completely ignored or felt hated for no reason at all? Did you have a parent or sibling who cared, let alone a supportive environment at school? These experiences, manifest in adulthood depending on how you were treated. Labels, misdiagnoses, lack of evaluation, or unsupportive environments. These experiences shape how we trust each other. If parents are absent, struggle with addiction, are self absorbed, or are non existent, trust becomes a central issue. Even a loving parent may be unintentionally distrusted because of prior experiences. Romantic relationships often reflect these early dynamics. Trust is going to be one of the most crucial issues you have if you let it. You can and should overcome your past trauma, learning that not all your experience in life will be bad. Initially, with childhood trauma, we may try to force relationships to work, overanalyze, or hold back out of fear. But there's hope. The universe and God provide guidance if we are open to it. By climbing over the limitations imposed by ADD or ADHD, autism, or other labels, allowing ourselves to give and receive love and active listening to others, and especially our feelings, while expressing our own, we begin to heal. We can even develop trust in those whom we are later shown that we can and are meant to. Even if you have a mother who is more willing to love you unconditionally and actively help you, you may inadvertently distrust her. It may have been because your father was fake. From his laugh to his willingness to have a genuine relationship with you beyond a surface level. It simply looked and sounded good to others, was what was really more important to him. Or you fall in love when you find your potential partner, your person, the one you're supposed to marry and spend your life with. Yet you find them just after you being first with a couple of bad attempts or trying already to settle down with the wrong ones. But um, but tried, to force it to work or let it go on too long because you didn't want to be alone or had a child or children, together. Yet all along aware of things you didn't like, right? Unfortunately, you were not even treated or appreciated the way you wanted to be. In your head, you determine you must keep looking for what may or may not happen to you again, even in the next new relationship, too. Inadvertently, distrusting someone can damage a relationship, but it's possible to address the issue by reflecting on your own trust triggers and engaging in open, empathetic communication. This happens when a person's experience or subconscious fears lead them to question someone's motives, even if that person has done nothing wrong. Early romantic relationships may be affected by these patterns. Overanalyzing or fearing emotional intimacy can emerge, even stalling for perfection to arrive, which does not even exist. What does exist is God and the universe. They even know and tally the good in you and your hurts. And if you allow them to, they partner you with your intended person. You're even filled with the magic to heal each other. The universe, no matter who you are, offers answers if you're open to receiving them. Trust and love in adulthood starts with recognizing and appreciating the priceless, unconditional relationships you already have access to, like your mother, your spouse, and your children. Healing requires openness, communication, and willingness to give and receive love. Listen to their feelings, but tell them your feelings too. Why? Because they matter and they do want to hear as much as you deserve to be heard. I hope many will listen to my advice, which is mixed with years of my personal and professional experience, my college education, as well as my own list of things I have learned over the years from being open to listening to others um, who have a genuine heart in wanting to do their part too, in hoping to heal or help heal a broken system world, even filled with hope, you know. Or you can talk to a Harvard trained psychologist, and guess what? You're going to be filled with the same basics to walk away with and optimistically not only take away from, but be willing to apply immediately to your life. So you stop feeling hurt and start healing and letting the pain go. Make room for the brand new beginning you are given because that is what God and the universe want for all, and to multiply all that is good to others too. So, people and couples who learn to truly trust and love each other despite childhood or past relationships can break toxic cycles and even generational curses by the will to do so, which means it becomes much easier to talk regularly about most issues and heal the relationships that are meant to be. When you open your heart and take a deep cleansing breath before you go into a needed conversation with your loved one, be willing to lean into what you may have even assumed at first would be a difficult conversation. Children, teens, and adults, both male and female, should practice meaningful and important topic conversations that hopefully help them later in life. Have the same talks when they have then also found their adult life partner and are ready to go out on their own. Begin again to allow genuine exchange and even respecting each other and the opinions or ideas when talking is healing in itself. Love each other or loving each other too makes the practice easier as well. Later, even the most connected couples aren't perfect. Facing imperfection and having hard conversations is a gift. Practicing these topics with openness and love builds long term, meaningful, and healing relationships. So, ADD, ADHD, autism, and relationships, a lifelong lesson. ADD versus ADHD and autism, how does it really affect us later? Treatment, yes, but more importantly, support, first at home and school, then continued throughout life, through our friends, coworkers, and family, whether professional help is needed or not. How a person is treated has the greatest impact, remember, on mental health and overall well being, period. So, parent support is crucial. Learning how to help a neurodiverse child and even understanding your own experiences can build compassion and strategies. School accommodations under IDEA, or Section 504 may include, those things we talked about: extra breaks, extra time, environmental adjustments, positive reinforcement, and individualized assignments or an IEP. Lifestyle and peer support is also available. Holistic approaches even can help. Regular exercise, creative outlets, and can help improve focus and emotional regulation throughout life. Peer support, guided by a trained professional, can teach constructive social interaction skills. Encourage children, though, to engage with activities they enjoy. It fosters focus, pride, and confidence. Emotional maturity and openness allows healing, multiplying love that the world needs. Trusting couples learn to love, cherish, and navigate life together despite past relationships or, childhood wounds. Now, this is the time to pull out a pen and paper to take notes. Pause the video even if you need to. I'm going to take a sip of water before we finish this. Because we're going to go over the 10 most important topics for couples and family discussions. I hope my candy holds the. Right, so I was about to say that it falls. Whatever. Anyway, I know you guys don't expect me to be perfect or if the camera moves. But anyway, number 1, money. You are not even meant to figure it out all on your own. And I think that's God playing with me now, shaking it like that because he's confirming, right? Plan together, align financial priorities, and share responsibilities. Avoid blaming your partner. This topic is the reason why it is also the number one reason, most especially, that unmatched couples break up because they are unable to come to a fair agreement and work together instead of one hounding the other for more money constantly, yet unwilling to do any of their part to make the money or follow the plan created together themselves. Number 2, sex. Every person brings a different background and experience. Communicate desires, expectations, and preferences. Be open about what you like and dislike and what you are flexible with, interchanging, when it comes to how to keep intimacy alive. Focus on connection, not performance. It should always be about creating an enjoyable experience together. Number 3, parenting. If you are raising children together, including already having children from previous relationships, chances are your parenting styles won't match exactly. Share feedback, align on values, not just individual preference, and adjust as needed for children from any relationship. Number 4, painful past experiences. All of them. Share baggage safely. Be vulnerable about all the experiences that have shaped who you are so that you are heard, seen, and understood. I stress all because if you hold back what you think is too uncomfortable or not important enough to share or discuss, it will leak out and manifest in negative ways into your relationship. Best believe. You will begin to resent them for things that are not even their fault. Resentment comes from unspoken feelings. Don't make assumptions on the unknown because too often you will be wrong but will hurt your partner more with a swift judgment or pushing them out or away, which in turn hurts you. Breaking promises, keeping secrets from each other, expecting more than you are willing to give or do, unwilling to forgive, and or not willing to really commit are not examples of love languages. Remembering what led you to fall in love, appreciation, and meaningful conversation, acts of love and gifts, making a point to keep date night a priority. I don't care how many kids or responsibilities you have, are examples of love languages. If you need more ideas when you have run down the list you had, it is a love language for you to Google with the desire to make another list for you to switch it up and keep it going. When you have asked directly what you want, don't make it a trick question so you both actually get what you both want. Number 5, time. Discuss quality time, travel, work schedules, and alone time. Alignment prevents misunderstandings. Number 6, insecurities and shame. Be open about fears and mistakes. A trustworthy partner accepts all parts of you, fostering an unbreakable bond. This also built on certainty, consistency, and reliability fosters a deep, assured trust. At the same time, an unshakable bond is based on unwavering commitment, resilience, and emotional availability that can endure through even the most difficult of times. Couples that really make it work, look back at the first time they may have come to a misunderstanding. That in the beginning, both were feeling scared to talk and overwhelmed, but then come back after getting some air and taking some time to think about things, to find they are even more willing to be open and communicate, and it got easier. They both learned you can restore and put into practice the lessons you both learned. Any difficult time in the future is less about being able to lovingly communicate and handle together life on life's terms. Number 7, mistakes. Admit them. Trust builds trust. So does truth. Lies undermine relationships. When someone makes a mistake, like being late to a planned event or making a choice that is bound to undermine trust, couples who trust each other tell the truth. Even if a mistake is layered and ruptures trust, each partner understands building a life based on lies eventually undermines the framework of the relationship itself. We're at number 8, family dynamics. Discuss challenges, seek help, and support each other in navigating extended family relationships. Where are we at? 9, power struggles. Understand who leads, compromises, or take a stand. Respectful navigation is key. And finally, number 10, dreams and aspirations. Share hopes for the future. Face imperfections together and embrace hard conversations. In conclusion, childhood experiences, labels, and neurodivergence affect adult relationships, but they don't have to define them. With awareness, support, and willingness to communicate, individuals can heal old wounds and build fulfilling relationships. Trust, open dialogue, and mutual understanding are essential in family, marriage, and parenting. Love multiplies when we acknowledge past struggles, embrace our neurodiversity, and lean into real connection, which is something we all want, right? Okay, guys, that's all for today. Hope this helps. See you soon. Bye.